Last time we looked at how we can gain intel from opponents' manual battles. This time we will look at what happens when you do not check your opponent's spells for any specific, very dangerous spells that will force you to adjust your tactics. It is turn 20, and both opponents have brought their armies to fight in the middle of the sea. As you may know, naval battles are not a thing anymore. As such, the game treats it as a land battle, and that is why we are fighting it on a random land map. Just suspend your disbelief for a minute. And here is that battle. Alright, so vampire counts are going to deploy with the melee on the front, ranged on the second rank, and going to try to get some value out of their artillery. Both sides will most likely going to wait for their reinforcements. Yep, High Elves decided to go with range on the front because their ranged firepower can definitely shred any kind of melee vampire counts can bring. Yep, a checkerboard formation from the High Elves. I suspect that the High Elf melee is currently in the woods, so should the vampire counts try to rush, they will be intercepted by that melee. Okay, vampire counts are trying to get a better angle for deployment. Now, I do not believe that the elves can see the vampire counts, so this is definitely Vampire Coast, I mean. I'm just gonna call them vamps. Alright. So to me it looks like vamps are deploying for a rush, and the checkerboard formation from High Elves is telling us that they're going to hold that position. Yep, they're going to have their range as open an area as possible, so that way the shots do not get blocked by the trees. Personally, what I would have done if I was pirates, I would bring probably, yeah, just this many guns, specifically against hero balls, and try to stand back and shoot and gain value that way. So right now, those melee are way too close. Alright, looks like vamps have deployed. Are getting ready. Teclis is coming in for dropping a few spells. I think that's a fireball. Gets blocked by the barrier. So Teclis, we've got an aerial duel coming in. Oh, gunners are unloading a volley on those eagles. Oh, Luthor Harkon has been netted. He is landing right now. Ooh, that's a big misplay from the elves. They really should have checked what spells Teclis has and not charged the general like that. Okay, we're gonna drop a Invocation of Nehek on Count Noctilus. Oh, he is currently enraged, so he cannot be controlled. And he's losing his health very quickly. Now that was a big misplay on Vamps. Very big misplay. Oh, Count Noctilus has just went down to the Vampire Count ball. So now there isn't really much that the vamps can do to stop the hero ball. Now the hero ball is going to start disassembling all of the high threat targets. Ooh, the vampire range blob, their big answer, the only other answer they have left, is getting burnt to a crisp by the Teclis' spells. Yeah, this was a big misstep. Yeah, gotta check those spells, see what they've got. That Net of Amentok was an absolute killer. And now the vamp reinforcements comes in. They still have a chance. They have got deck gunners who could do some damage. Now the High Elf reinforcements is here, but the current High Elf army has done a ton of damage to the vamps. Losing Count Noctilis was a devastating blow, especially with such a bad exchange. Now with the range going away, this is not going to be good. Oh, this might do some decent chunk of damage to the elves. Yeah, it does a little bit, like 25% health damage. I don't think any of the models died to this one. I don't know why, but we have lost sound of the battle, but we are still going to continue. Ooh, vampire counts are getting shot. They really... Yep, now they've found them. But the elves are already in a firing position, so they are engaging, trying to break the elf lines. But they are getting a big range reinforcements from the back. The vamp artillery is down, but the Queen Bess is on the field right now. So as long as they can defend it, they might be able to turn this around if they play it smart. Oh, no, 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 cat, please don't. Yep, that misplay on Count Noctilis has definitely hurt the morale. And yeah, Luthor Harkon getting lost to that net of Amontok and the Hero Ball action was a devastating blow. I gotta say, I was hoping at least for a fight to the end, but I see why Kat chose it this way. She knew she could not hold against that kind of a loss, because that was the biggest card she had, and with losing the Gunners, there really wasn't much she could have done with the coming reinforcements. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and this is going to be the whole round 1, unfortunately, and this is the downside of the 1v1, or an upside, depending on your perspective. That it ends quickly, because after this, the elves have no opposition for their landing, while high elves get to scale up. A vampire coast can only fight guerrilla, and the time is not on their side. Well, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Well, I think I made my point in the important things you should check before your battle. Namely, 1. Your opponent's unit composition. 2. High threat units. 3. Spells and abilities. By checking these, you can easily predict your opponent's strategy and develop counters to it, or at the very least, mitigate their strengths to push your own strategy. With this defeat, Cat conceded defeat, and M7 now moves to semifinals. Here's the ladder for the tournament as it is now, and next we will look at Pret versus Sibe.